페데리코.
行くでない。死へ。
Uniform looks pretty formal, looks intact. Let me take off this glove. Voila. Alright, if you can't tell by the title, by the thumbnail, we are going to be talking about 86 Light Novel Edition. And if you can't tell, I am super ecstatic to finally be talking about one of my favorite series in recent memory. Yeah, this is probably one of my favorite light novel series for so many reasons. I'm not going to spoil too much about it because there's a lot to talk about, but kind of hard to talk about without spoiling it, so I'm gonna get into like light spoilers a little bit. But yeah, peep the 86 outfit. I actually handmade this myself as well. I don't believe I have a YouTube video on it. I'm on a cosplay channel, but I might make one. And I do apologize for the lack of content this past week, 2 weeks. I was actually at New York Comic Con last weekend. Pretty fun. Check out my other channel if you want more cosplay content and random stuff. That being said, let's talk about this series. One of my favorite series ever. Also, I'm wearing this specifically for this video, so keep that in mind. And yeah, but yeah, 86. I know you guys have seen my channel. If you discovered me like early on, you know one of my first videos I talked about was 86 and how I really enjoy that series, how pretty much it encompasses what it means to like truly be in conflict, what it truly means to be war, because it accurately, for the most part, depicts like conflict in not a glorifying way, but pretty much in an anti-war, because the whole point of 86 is to be this anti-war theme, that war is very bad. It doesn't matter which side you choose, because at the end of the day, the people that are going to suffer are going to be the ones fighting the battle. It's not going to be the people at the very top. It's not going to be the rich. It's not going to be the people funding the war. It's going to be the people who they're sending out to the meat grinder. And the first season of 86 pretty much explores this very perfectly. It encapsulates what it means to be an 86, what it means to be discriminated against, what it means to be below lower class, what it means to be subhuman. And I'm sure you can relate this topic to pretty much any other series, to pretty much like historical moments that have happened or that have currently been happening in our own real world. Politics aside, which I really won't get into, you can relate the conflict of 86 to a lot of things that have actually happened in human history, like a lot of things, specifically World War II. Also, a great example of this is pretty much World War I with the Harlem Hellfighters, which were African Americans sent to France because the Americans didn't really want them. They didn't really want blacks and their ranks, but the French loved these guys because they were like pretty pro-battle. These guys were great warriors. These guys were awesome, but the American government pretty much refused to acknowledge their existence for many years. There's a bunch of historical references that could apply to the 86 that apply to like real world circumstances, which is why I love this series. Me as a big like historian, as a big military enthusiast, this series, when it first came out, it honestly called to me so much, because I love anything that's like war, anything that's military. I love anything that's anti-war, because it just shows the horrifying beauty that is warfare. And this series encapsulates it so much. I don't really need to explain the first season a whole lot. If you've seen any of my other videos, if you've seen this series, then you know. Now, going on to the light novels, it's pretty interesting because the way that this tackles certain aspects of the world building of the characters and their trauma is very fascinating to me, because if you want to continue off this series, I would recommend starting off like volume 4. You really get to feel like that element of 86. It pretty much flows fluidly right into the light novel. I gotta admit, this is probably one of the best adaptations I have ever read, because you can honestly watch the end of season 1 and then jump straight into volume 4, and it immediately picks up like 6 months after the meeting between Shin and Lena, and you get to see their development from both characters' point of view. One thing I really do love about this series, especially the light novels, is how it jumps from certain perspectives of people. You know, kind of how like Obi-Wan said from a certain point of view, things can be different, can be good or bad. That's pretty much how this series goes, which is what I really love, because you get certain aspects in this series, like you get a point of view from like Lena's perspective, how she feels about being one of the people who the 86 completely despise, but yet when she joins their ranks, she fully understands what it's like to be them. And then you get the perspective of Shin and some of the other characters, such as Werewolf, such as some of the other characters I forgot off the top of my head, but you really get to see all these characters like thoughts and perspective, not to mention not just them, you get to see perspectives of other people within the series, just regular ass people who view the 86 like them. These are some pretty crazy ass kids that have pretty much only known war for pretty much their entire existence since they were pretty much 5. Like, how can you rehabilitate people like this who have only known what it means to have war, conflict? They know nothing except how to kill and survive. Like, how do you rehabilitate these people? As this series goes on, you get to see the mindset of some of these characters, how they start to change their perspective on war, how it means to, oh hey, the war could actually end if this and this happens. I'm not gonna spoil what happens, but in the book there's like this critical plot point that points out, yeah, there's a way to disable the Legion, but it would require a said character to do this character to overthrow said thing. Like I said, I'm not trying to spoil too much, but yeah, there's pretty interesting stuff that happens within the light novel that points how this series is going to end, and it's not going to end in a very happy way. It's gonna end off in a very divisive way for these characters within the world. They're going to be forced to do some things that they do not want to do, some things that they are forced to question. Not to mention, there are many divisions within like this series that like completely hate each other. Most of these countries hate the Republic of San Magnolia for pretty much being like fascists, for pretty much treating the 86 below human. And when the Republic fell, all these other countries came and swooped up their land and made fun of them. Like, they made fun of the people of the country, like, huh, you were complaining about all these people, now look where you are. You're right pretty much where you started. You get what you freaking deserve. That line from Joker. But I really do love like the relationship between Shin and Lena. If you thought that moment was pretty good in the anime, in the light novel, it honestly picks up even further. In volume 4, I would say it's kind of strained a little bit because they're just now getting to know each other. They're trying to understand each other's feelings. While in volume 5, you get to see them develop a bit more. Volume 6, oh my gosh, volume 6, I'm not gonna spoil it, but there's so many good things actually happen. You get to see Shin finally acknowledge Lena. You get to see Shin acknowledge his own emotions, and you get to see them go deep into his backstory. You get to see him develop his emotions and finally come to the realization, holy shit, I'm actually human. I'm not just a killing machine who's pretty much been taught his entire life to, oh yeah, you gotta kill just to survive. No, you get to learn more about these characters' backstories. You get to learn more about this world and how Shin's ability to hear the dead is not just special to him, but there's certain clans within the stories that have special abilities. There's some characters that can actually see the future. There's some characters that can read minds. Not to mention, there's a freaking kaiju in this series. It's like, I'm not gonna spoil it. I feel like that's a big spoiler already, but yeah, there's a freaking kaiju, which I don't want to spoil. I believe, if I remember correctly, that happens around volume 7 when they go into this country where they have like ships and stuff. I really don't want to spoil that surprise. It's really good. Part of the thing about the series is I can't really talk about certain aspects of the light novel without spoiling one moment, which leads into a key developing moment into other characters. I can't spoil set perspective, so I'm trying to be as best as possible to explain how the light novels are, if that makes sense. But another thing I do love about the series is how emotional of a roller coaster this gets. If you thought the end of season 1 was amazing, if you thought the finale of 86 was pretty emotional when Shin and Lena first met both times, you're gonna cry. Like, you're absolutely gonna cry and absolutely gonna be tearful at some of the things that happen, especially when it comes to Shin's backstory. Holy man, that backstory is probably one of the saddest I've read. I've heard an audiobook. It's sad. Like, you get to see what made Shin the way that he is, the person who trained him. Yeah, I feel so bad for Shin. Like, every time I'm hearing stuff about his backstory, I just want to cry. I just want to give this guy a hug. Like, bro deserves nothing but happiness, but his entire life is just full of pain and misery. If you thought Guts was sad, this guy is like Guts' younger brother. This guy is just like Guts' little son. Like, holy shit, man, because Shin goes through so much development. Like, you thought he's this emotionless cool guy. No, he's like this emotionless, sad, pathetic loser boy that, like, oh my gosh, so much stuff does happen to him. I don't want to spoil it. It's a big spoiler. That's a big part of his character when he finally realizes, I need to move on from this. I really need to move on from this. And Lena, she is such a badass. She goes from being queen to slaying queen. Like, she's not just a queen, she's empress. She's a goddess of war in the series. I really do love how they went from her from being like the shy character kind of thing to like this goddess of war, which like kind of, she would fit perfectly into like Warhammer 40k, to be honest, because she would be a perfect battle sister, I will admit. Like, it's pretty cool, her development, seeing her go from like this girl to like this goddess of war. It's really, really awesome. Sorry if I repeated that. It's just so cool. I love her development. Not to mention some of the other characters like Shin's group, such as Werewolf and such as the other guys. I love their development so much because you get to see their thought process of like what happens, like what made them the way they are. You also get to see Karina's point of view, how she feels exactly about Shin. And I'm pretty sure this is not spoiled because everyone knows, and how she really likes Shin. In the book, she does acknowledge, I will love Shin no matter what. It doesn't matter what happens. I will always be there for him. Even if he rejects me, I still want to be with him. Even if he doesn't, my heart will always be centered towards him. And I really do love Karina's like admiration. I really do love how she's like saying, you know what, even if they don't want me, I'm still gonna want him. And her development is pretty cool actually in this series. I believe it was volume 8 or 9. I think it was 8. I believe it was 8. You get to see a whole book dedicated to her. One great thing about these light novels is if you like certain characters such as Leo, each volume is kind of dedicated to them. Like, certain characters have their own arcs within the light novels that they go back towards and they get to refer to in other books, which is really, really awesome. Like, you get to see Leo, you get to see Werewolf, you get to see all these other guys, all these other gals just develop. Not to mention the world building is very astonishing because you get to see several other countries and their perspective whenever the war with the Legion came and how it ravaged the continent, how humanity has been surviving. And it actually does answer a lot of questions that the anime didn't really answer, like, hey, why is there no airplanes? Why is there no space stations? What the hell happened to this? Why is there so much racism everywhere? And how just because the 86 are discriminated against and the Republicans side Magnolia doesn't mean they're free, because pretty much every other country is kind of racist towards the 86, and for good reason. A little bit, you'll understand, because you gotta think of it like this. You got these crazy bloody war orphans who know nothing but war, and you're just like this country who's like, holy shit, these guys are kind of insane. We might not like them. Should we trust them? That's kind of how like most of the countries feel about the 86. They just view them as weapons as well. Like, how can I make use of these exotic weapons? They don't even view them as human. They view them as like weapons. Pretty much every other faction within this series, without the Republic of Giad, kind of views them as weapons for the most part. At least some people in the Giadan Republic view them as weapons. Other people don't, but you get to see the perspective of other countries. The world building is pretty cool. Not to mention some of the new characters that are introduced are freaking amazing. Even some of the antagonists, you get to see more of their motivation. You get to see like more stuff about the Legion, how they became to be, and how the Legion actually feel. Yes, you heard that right. The Legion are not just killing machines. They are somewhat AI, like they were spoken about in the first season in the anime, but you get to delve more into their origins, which is pretty awesome, because I don't think we got that explained too much within the show. Honestly, I think volumes 4 through 6 will be some of the greatest things ever to be animated. There's a lot of cool moments, especially the moments between Shin and Lena. It's very wholesome. It goes from being this shy love story to this like, holy shit, this is so traumatizing. Why are these guys not together? Like, oh my gosh. Like, to like, oh my gosh, I really want them to be the perfect couple. Like, it is a blend of pretty much everything. Like, yes, good romance, but it really delves deep into like the horrors of war, barbarism, and like, holy shit, humanity is just bad in general. Can we stop killing each other for 5 freaking minutes? Like, man, I love this series so much. I could go on and on about it, but if I do, I'm gonna get into spoiler territory. And yeah, like I said, the light novel is pretty good. If you're not too fond of light novels, change your mind. Read this series. It's really good. that being said, that's just pretty much why you should read the light novels. Like my thoughts on the light novels. A lot of moments that actually ended up making me cry, like the backstories, the characters, and oh my gosh, there's some character deaths that you just feel like, I don't even want to talk about. There's certain moments, there's certain aspects within the story that you realize, holy shit, the 86 are completely nuts. They are evil. Like there's this other faction within this series that uses kind of like Russian wave attacks, like suicidal attacks, but the 86s kind of eat it up. They're kind of worse than like actual machines. Throughout the story, it's explained like, holy crap, are we the bad guys? Like are we the bad guys? But that being said, that's just my thoughts on the 86 light novel. They make me cry. It's amazing. It's great. Go, please read it, because if we can get sales up for the light novels, even just a little bit, we have a potential for getting an 86 season 2. Who knows? I'm predicting like 2026, 2027 at the latest. We get season 2. But that being said, I love 86. Please go read it. If this video doesn't change your mind, me begging, and this 86 costume might. If not, how about this? If this video reaches I don't know, like 4,000 views or whatever, I will give this Lena figure away. I will literally give her up. If this video gets up to 4,000 views, even 5,000, let's make that 5,000 views, and I'll do a giveaway for this figure. Will that happen? No. But anyways, that being said, if you guys like this video, feel free to like, comments. Anyways, if you guys like this video, feel free to comment, like, subscribe. Please subscribe. I make cool videos pretty much every other week. Whenever I can, I talk about anime, light novel, all that stuff. But if you guys want to see some cosplay content or me talk about like non-anime stuff, please check out my other channel. I make some pretty cool stuff there. The reviews, cosplay content, and yeah, whatnot. If you want to see some stuff from New York Comic Con, be sure to check out the channel. Subscribe, follow me on TikTok, Instagram, whatnot. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Share this with someone who needs to watch 86, who needs to read the light novels. And yeah.